All right, what is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Unwind. It's myself, Don's Lawns here, and my guy Joey with 25-8 Coffee.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, dude? So
A lot.
Yeah, a lot's been going on. You're right. Let's see. Should we do a recap? Do you guys want to recap from the last episode?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, little recap. Okay. Well, last time we were here, we had a few beers
And rightfully so, because it was your
Unwind.
last day.
Yeah, my last day at my last job, and
So what was that?
Yeah.
2 months ago? Now,
yeah,
around?
roughly. It was roughly 2 months now. My last day was in December, and we're filming this February. So yeah, 2 months, about 2 months ago, and it was bittersweet. You know, it was kind of one of those cool things to kind of close one door and be looking to open the next door. And
you did it right.
yeah,
You did it right.
Yeah, did everything good. Ended at the semester. Some people say, "Oh, you should finish out the year," but I mean, semester is just as good, guys. I mean, when you're working in public education, semester, end of the year, there's not a big difference. Granted, it makes it harder for administration to fill those positions at semester, but as an employee, you got to do what you got to do.
It's not like you're walking out in October or something.
No, yeah. You finished the semester, and that was good enough. And everyone knew ahead of time, and they had time to fill my position.
How long were you there? 4 years, 5 years?
5.5 years.
Wow.
So I was on my 6th year at Carroll High School there, and this is actually my 9th year as an athletic trainer. Yeah. That it would have been my finishing out my 9th year.
So you're switching careers.
Yeah.
Update us on what are you doing now while I grab a beer.
Oh yeah. You grab a beer. I am now a fire cadet. So I went from being the athletic trainer at a 5A, which is pretty big high school, and there was 2 of us there handling most of the injuries and all of the health care and all of the practices and games and everything like that for athletics, to now I'm a cadet where I'm bottom of the rung. I am just another dude.
How is that? Because being an athletic trainer, like, you're your own boss, dude.
Yeah. It's been a little different. It's been an adjustment.
Now that you're in it and it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. It is nice because the nice part is that 5 o'clock comes and I know I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't have to stay till 10 o'clock working basketball or working soccer, which happens in the cold and rainy weather.
Or Friday nights, you're getting home till midnight.
Yeah, Friday nights,
That's
football.
your earliest,
It's a late night. Like, you don't get to go home early. So, knowing that I have that reward as a cadet, like, okay, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Granted, I show up early because I'm the class captain and I want to get coffee going. I want to get this started. I want to make sure everything's set up and ready to go for everyone else. But I get to leave at 5 like everyone else too, for the most part. There's always ish time, you know.
Okay, so that's the good stuff. Now tell us what's one thing that you have to adjust to.
Yes.
With anything, starting anything, you got to adjust to something. Yeah. So what's been the biggest adjustment for you?
There's always adjustments, like you said. Anything new you do, there's adjustments. And with a new career going from athletic training in the public education into being a fire cadet in the fire academy with the city, being on call during emergencies like our recent water boil and our recent freeze and ice storm that we experienced, and then also realizing now that I'm a cadet, which means I'm like bottom rung, like I'm the dirt of the group, you know, like as a cadet you're worse than a first year teacher. You know, like
it's a good way to put it.
Like you're down there, you're bottom rung. Like, hey man, you're just gonna have to figure it out.
Your stripes every day.
Exactly. You've got to impress the people in charge. You've got to work your butt off. You have to prove it. Sweat, blood, tears, whatever it takes. You got to put in the work. And that's kind of what it's been like.
That's tough to do. I don't know many people that could do that. Like just switch professions and then start from the bottom, right? Because in athletic training, you started from the bottom and then you ran your own program for the last 5-6 years, and now you're starting from the bottom, and hopefully you'll run the fire department one day. But that'll be down the line.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Cheers to you for doing that. And I know there's a lot of viewers out there and listeners that hold firefighters in big regards, and the respect we have for them is a big deal around here. So
definitely.
Cheers to that. Speaking of cheers, here's what we're drinking today. It's called Athletic Brewing Company, and it's called Run Wild. Here's why it's a big deal, and here's why I've been waiting for Don to share what I'm drinking today. He texted me, he's like, hey man, headed to your place, you have anything to drink? I said, I got what I'm drinking, just bring what you're drinking, because I don't think you're going to like what I'm drinking. So if Don can read what it says at the top.
Non-alcoholic brew. It's non-alcoholic beer. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought I'd...
Change it up on me, huh?
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
For the last 60 days,
yeah.
Today's the 60th day that I haven't had any alcohol. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed,
60
Joey.
days, dude.
Dang.
So that's why I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah.
And it's a new thing out there that I saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
That a bunch of people, millennials, are doing. They want to live the sober life and
still enjoy the
brew.
Still
enjoy the habit of having a beer. And this one contains less than 0.5 alcohol.
Wow.
And it does taste like a beer. I've never had one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing, since we're talking about non-alcoholic beer, and I'm glad you didn't tell me you were having that before I got here.
I know.
But
you want to show up.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm having some beers. Yeah, I'm drinking Dos Equis tonight, guys.
Dos Equis. And that's the beer I would have if I wasn't on this. But I wanted to surprise you. No. It's one of the goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year, and kind of just...
That's awesome. You know,
this is a challenging spot for me because I know you're coming over with beer, and I want to put myself in more challenging situations and not have a beer.
You're right.
There's a lot of people out there that say that are against these because you're still keeping up with the habit of drinking and like being socialized.
You're socializing with a beer, but it's not a real beer.
Correct.
Like it's a.
But they're saying like this is the gateway to get you back into drinking.
You're gonna drink beer.
Yeah, and I'm like, no man,
no,
I can do it.
If you like the taste of beer, but you don't want the alcohol.
Correct. That's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah. So
I can respect that.
60 days, man.
That's awesome, dude.
That's a big deal for me because I can't think of the last time I went a month without having a glass of wine, a mixed drink, or a beer. I can't remember the last month.
If the guys on the podcast could see my face right now, listen, I don't know when the last time I went.
You've gone a month.
I don't know the last time I've gone a month without a beer.
Me neither.
just to be honest,
it's the lifestyle that we live in.
A Saturday, Sunday, and not have a beer. And Friday nights after a football type thing, I'm gonna have a couple beers.
We work our tails off to enjoy the weekend, and that's why we started this podcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
We like to unwind on the weekend.
For sure.
So I get it, but it's just a little challenge I put it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Well, congrats on 60 days.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal.
That's cool. So my first official beer with my dad was a non-alcoholic beer.
O'Doul's?
Yes, it was an O'Doul's, which I didn't have the heart to tell him I'd already had beer before that. So by the way, Dad, I already had beer before you had given me that O'Doul's, but that's neither here nor there now. But that was just funny when you.
It's a memory that
non-alcoholic. My first beer with my dad was non-alcoholic beer, and
it's my first one ever.
Yeah,
non-alcoholic beer.
And the O'Doul's taste just like a regular beer too. non-alcoholic beers are kind of on the up, I think.
It is. It's like a little
more
movement.
people
Just because
producing them.
They're the athletic type.
Yeah.
So whether they have to run a marathon the next day, whether they got to spend 12 hours at a job or perform athletically, they don't want to have that hungover feeling the next day, but they want to still go out with friends and enjoy a beverage.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You don't want to sit out there and have a water while everyone else is having a canned beer or a
And you're going to drink one of these before you go, and it has like the beer taste.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you just if you like
So I went to Specs, I got a 6-pack. They have a variety of non-alcoholic beers there.
That's pretty cool. Just to be honest, that's pretty cool though. I mean, I've kind of thought about like, oh, could I give up beer for Lent or something like that? You know, could I go 30 days? Could I go? And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
And I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to break it. Initially, here's what happened. Here's the story behind it. December 18th, I think, or 19th. Mm-hmm. No, December 22nd. Me, Carrie Lynn, and my buddy Mark, we went out downtown and we had some drinks, and a couple shots later, he's like, man, I'm done drinking. Like, I'm done, man. New Year is a week away. I'm done. And I'm looking at him. There's no way.
Nah,
I know you. Yeah, I was like,
man.
My buddy drinks every other day. Right? He's a professional drinker and wakes up fine and goes to work. I can't do that. I know that. So I get on the bandwagon with him. I said, okay. I said, let's have a good night tonight, December 22nd. Yeah. And then that's it, dude. We ain't drinking no more.
Yeah.
He says, all right. So we had a good time that night. And that was the last alcohol I had. He was good for about 3 weeks. And he caved in and started drinking. But yeah.
It's definitely hard to think about, like, just personally, like, to think about, like, oh, would I not drink next weekend? No, I mean, I would probably just drink.
Yeah.
Drink a couple beers or drink a 6-pack or whatever and just have a good time. You know, relax, kick back, unwind. Yeah. So it's different to think, like, well, would I do it if I had a non-alcoholic? Probably so. I mean, probably still the same, like, just, it would be no alcohol. I mean, why wouldn't I still do it? So this is opening a different corridor now. I'm kind of screwed up here. I don't know if I should, next time I might bring the non-alcoholic beer and give it a try. I don't know.
So yeah, I thought I'd surprise you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have one of those tonight.
Yeah, try it out.
At least one.
And I don't know how long I'll go.
Yeah.
Initially I was like, I can go a month, and then I went a month, and then I was like, I'm almost on 2 months. Yeah, 2 months, and then I'm like,
hey,
I feel better. I'm not gonna lie, Don. Yeah, like just physically and mentally, I'm not cloudy. Mm-hmm. Like after some days when I would drink alcohol or wine or whatever the case might be, I become a little cloudy, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in tip-top shape physically and mentally every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what hinders you from doing that? I was like, okay, well, sometimes you go out, and you have some beverages, and then the next day you're foggy, and I said, okay. So 1, I wanted to be in tip-top shape mentally and physically. 2, it does save me some money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I'm the guy that goes out and say, hey, man, I got your next one. Yeah, right? Yeah. And who doesn't when you're having a good time? So those 2 things have helped me continue being sober.
Yeah. But for sure. I mean, saving money. Mm-hmm. Still getting the flavor.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling better. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good... I don't want to call it a gimmick, but...
Call it what you want.
But it sounds like it's working, you know? Like, it sounds like something that is effective. And that's kind of cool that I've actually... experiencing it from somebody directly, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of just, oh yeah, I saw that on TV. I might try it one day. Yeah. I don't know. That's cool, because, I mean, we've talked before, and you've mentioned how you don't like to drink during the week.
Yeah.
And you're strictly weekends type guy. And now that you're just not even drinking for 60 days now, I mean, that kind of is like, whoa, he's on another level then now, because he's able to focus full time in a sense. You know, he doesn't get the cloudiness, he doesn't get the the effects of the alcohol the day after, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what I wanted to avoid.
Yeah.
Something I'm trying out. I don't think I'll ever be completely sober. Like I might do it for a year and then that's it. And then I'll still drink.
Yeah.
But it's one, to prove something myself. And then two, to see how much more productive I can be every day.
You know, and that kind of reminds me of a podcast that we both talked about just a little bit ago. And, you know, if you're into podcasts, like if you don't look up and listen to new podcasts, then you're missing out. Because the Jocko Willink podcast...
This gets my blood flowing, dude.
Yeah.
Just...
Jocko is a cool dude. He's been out there a long time. He's been doing podcasts for a while. Former Navy SEAL. He's been doing instruction. He's a highly motivated individual. His podcast, he's got it on YouTube. He's got it on all the podcast platforms as well. That guy, when he starts talking,
that guy's a different breed.
You listen. Like, if you're not going to listen, you might as well just leave because you want to listen.
Yeah, that guy's a different animal, man.
And kind of like what you're talking about, non-alcoholic beer and things like that. That's right up his alley.
Yeah. Challenge
yourself.
Yeah.
How are you going to challenge yourself
to
be a better you? And that's like definitely down his path, like things that he talks about and preaches. And I think last podcast I can kind of listen to, it may have been an old recording or something, but he had talked about, you know, those Navy SEALs who party hard and this and that and go heavy, you know, at the bar and things like that. Those guys end up not being as productive and not being as sharp as the guys who are dialed in, you know, and that was kind of one of those things that I was like, oh, I mean, I never really thought about it too much. I mean, but I can see it more now, and then also see it more now that I'm a fire cadet.
Now your performance is going to be on display every day.
When I show up, if I'm drinking during the week and I show up the next day and I know it's a PT day, I better be pounding some water during the day to get ready for PT because otherwise I'm going to be cramping, I'm going to be foggy, I'm going to be slow, delayed, and you don't want to be that. And when in the time that you have to perform and do things, you know, and I think that is something that I know we talked about our goals.
Yeah.
To start
and that wasn't one on
that
the
wasn't
goal
on
list.
your goal list.
No,
that wasn't.
Heck no.
It might have been on my goal list, maybe.
Might have been.
I talked about maybe cutting down my drinking and being a little more healthy and things like that. And I've lost some weight since
you look like you do.
Since the new year, and I attribute that to my wife. So props to my
You guys
honey.
are eating healthy or what?
She's been limiting my portions a little more, which I mean I'm a fat kid in a skinny body. You know, I like to eat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's been more strong-willed and kind of limiting me in that aspect. So I've been more controlled on my dinner plate and everything else like that. And then, obviously, I've tried to work out a little additional to the academy. But with that, the alcohol aspect, I haven't really been much better. I still drink during the week. I don't drink as much during the week, which I've cut down. So, I mean, I'm making improvements.
Yeah.
But I also realized that I've started to not drink as late into the evening, which I think helps my body kind of metabolize.
It does,
It metabolizes the alcohol, and then when I wake up, I'm not hungover.
Because that's what I would do when I would drink. I'd get off of work, go straight to the bar, meet a buddy for a happy hour, have a couple beers, get my little buzz, and then go home. And I was home probably by 6 o'clock. And then have some dinner, sober up, whatever. And then I'll be fine the next morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that. Your body has time to recuperate.
Yeah.
But I think this is just something I stumbled upon. And I was like, I'm going to try and challenge myself. And it's been good. And I just finished my first non-alcoholic brew. And they try to spice it up and make them like craft beers and stuff like that.
So what is that one? Is that one like an IPA?
It's an IPA.
So it's a non-alcoholic IPA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be kind of hoppy. It's going to have a
It
little
is,
flavor
yeah.
to it.
I
And
want to see it's out of San Diego, California. Brew without compromise.
there you go.
They're selling it.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Well, so we're talking about beer. We're talking about some goals. We're talking about some of those things that we're trying to do differently this year.
Yeah.
With that, we're going into 2021. We've got your goals. You got my goals. We talked about in the last episode. We also are looking to continue the podcast and keep it growing, right? And with that, one of the more recent things that we've kind of seen is like current events that have been going on. And that's something that maybe we might start talking about as well.
Yeah.
On our podcast is just like stuff that's going on in our area.
Yeah.
And kind of giving a local perspective for the global that might be listening.
Yeah,
Right.
Especially with what went on the last week.
Yeah.
It's been...
Okay, so if you're unsure of where we're at,
Yeah.
the last week has been cold for South Texas. Very cold. What was our, coldest day? We had, 19, 17?
19.
Yeah.
And that's, it broke a 100-year-old
Yeah.
record.
The last time it was that cold was 1895, I think is what I saw. And we had wind chills down to probably lower than that, but I can't remember the exact numbers with the wind chills because those depend on the wind. But
and I know we're getting a lot of crap about not being prepared for the winter, but we've never had a winter like this in 100 years.
Yeah. What is winter?
Yeah.
So this is the first time in the last 6-7 years that my grass has gone fully dormant. It's gone fully brown.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the first time since I've lived in my own home that this has happened. And that alone just tells you, we were not prepared. Exactly. We're not prepared because that's not precedence for our winter. And for, 5-6 days consecutive freezing nights and days. I mean, we didn't get over 32 for 4 days probably.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we did, it got to 45, and then that night it froze again.
Yeah. And then all the power outages, the water boils. It's just, our city's known for its water boils.
Yeah. This is probably our 7th water boil in the last
of it.
5 years.
Yeah. Which is not a good thing, but it's something that we expect at least once a year to deal with because it's one, it's where we live. We're right on the coast.
Yeah.
Near the Gulf of Mexico, and that weather, I know, switching gears a little bit, but that weather that we had last week affected a lot of the fisheries around here.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of fish swept up on land, and
there's a lot of cold stun turtles.
Yeah.
I saw one of our previous coworkers from Carroll. She was saving some cold stun turtles as well, putting them in her trunk of her Jeep or her vehicle, her 4Runner maybe, taking them to the hatchery there and dropping them off. So, neat. I mean, it's just kind of seeing the community step up during this process.
That was a positive.
Has been real positive. HEB is always
HEB is a Texas number one.
If you live in Texas and you don't have HEB, you're missing out. Because I know a lot of North Texas doesn't have HEB, so you're definitely missing out. But for South Texas, Coastal Texas, East Texas, Central Texas,
HEB is a go-to store.
HEB is the bomb.
Yeah.
We shop HEB all the time, and then during COVID, they stepped up their what is it called, curbside.
Yeah.
They stepped up their curbside to the point that you can schedule within the day. Within 24 hours, you can schedule a curbside pickup, and then they have so many more.
And they're
spots
efficient
to do it. Yeah. They got it ready. Boom. They send you a text. Hey, your order's ready for pickup. Blah blah blah. Blah boom boom. They send you a text with your pickups and the things that they swapped out because they weren't available. and whatnot. And if you don't like it, you can text them back and tell them what you want. And I mean, like, HEB's the crap. You know, they're the best there is.
There was one story that I saw on Facebook or something, or Twitter, that it was in Central Texas and people were shopping, right, getting their food, their water, because they knew this big storm was coming, and then HEB lost power.
Yeah.
So they said that anybody that was in the store with a full grocery cart were able to walk out with all those groceries.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that. I think it was Leander.
Right? Yeah, Leander, Texas.
Got to do that.
That's wow.
And they were, you know, I mean, so humble of HEB to allow that. You know, like, just, we know you're struggling.
Yeah, people are in need.
You need this food. You're not trying to buy filet mignon and, you know, T-bones and briskets and things that are out of the ordinary. You're trying to get food for you and your family, and the power went out. Take it. Yeah. You need it.
That story will be told 100 years from now about HEB. And you know, that's why people will go there every day.
What I read was when the news anchors reached out to the HEB store and asked them about it, their response was, "We have no comment." And then when they were questioned, "Is this a true story?" they said, "Yes, it's a true story." But that just shows that they are not looking for fame.
Publicity,
they don't want the fame. They don't want publicity. They don't want any of that. They're just trying to do what's best for their community, because at the end of the day, being great for the community is going to be great for the company. Yeah. You know, I mean, honestly, that's what it is.
And people went to social media and they freaking Twittered that thing, and Twitter did its thing, and everybody knew about that story without HEB going out there and publicizing that.
Exactly.
And that's what companies that are successful, they let word of mouth do the marketing for them. So
for sure. And
that was a big deal.
That's something that HEB's done great. They've responded well with hurricanes. Excuse me. They've responded well with hurricanes. They've responded well with weather, natural disasters, freezes, power outages, water boils. They've done above the par. Like, if the par was, hey, you be a good grocery store, they excelled. I mean, they beat that into the ground, because
their beliefs and systems are just off the charts.
Yeah,
we can talk about HEB all day.
We could.
It's just
we could. Yeah. Have you ever worked for HEB?
I have not.
See, and that's something like
you.
I have.
Wow.
And that was something that I'm kind of embarrassed to say, to the point that because I only worked there like 2 days. Yeah. Because I was in college, and then my schedule couldn't allow me. Like, I had applied before summer, and then I got hired towards the end of summer, and college was starting. So I literally had to take a leave of absence. College had started, I had to go to work, and I had to start doing athletic training and everything else, so it didn't work out. And that's kind of what I was embarrassed about. Like, dude, I only got to work like 2 days for HEB. Yeah. And people are like, man, you never worked at HEB. Yeah, I did. I worked 2 days, bro.
Put that on the resume.
Yeah. But, I mean, it counts, right?
Yeah. Part of the family.
Yeah. But that's the one thing that once I got hired with HEB, it was like you said, a family. Yeah. They treated me like family, even though I had only worked 2 days and then I was on leave of absence. Yeah. I was on a leave of absence, and they were still trying to call me and like, hey, can you work? You know, I was like, hey, man, I'm on a leave of absence. Yeah. Because they understood, like, hey, people need money. They need to work. They need this opportunity, and they're an employee, and they're looking out for you. And I know with Black Friday and with water boils and with all of the different events that end up happening throughout the year, and especially down here, they've always reached out to their partners. And during COVID, they gave a raise to their employees and things like that. I mean, they're just a well-run company.
A lot of our former students work there currently. Yeah. Make a career out of it.
You can be a manager in no time if you stick to the track, you know, and be making more than a teacher.
Yeah. But yeah, HEB is a great company, and they've done a lot for the community last week. Yeah. The week's been crazy, Don. Tell us about your week, because I know we were fortunate here at my home to not lose any power and not lose any water for those 5 to 6 days.
Yeah.
So we're very thankful for that. So we just kind of sat around and cooked a lot and enjoyed our time, but I know a lot of people weren't as fortunate. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely, I was on the other side of that. I ended up losing power. Our water pressure went down to the point where, like, it was a trickle out of our faucet.
Yeah.
So, and that, I thought that might have been from just cold pipes and things like that, you know, but without power and everything else like that, I wanted to make sure that my wife and daughter and, you know, whoever we could get to warmth could get to warmth. So my in-laws still had power. They still had electricity, still had water, everything else. They weren't on a rolling blackout like a lot of the state was.
That is something I've never heard of, dude.
Yeah, I kind of was taken aback by that.
Me too.
So ERCOT, who runs the state of Texas power grid, majority is like 90% of the state, something like that. They run their power grid. They decided that if we can turn off the power ever so often, we could protect the grid, conserve power and protect the grid, because the grid wasn't producing enough power for usage. So for whatever reason, usage went up, production went down in this freeze, and they decided, let's turn power off so we can't have usage. You know, and that's what ended up happening to a lot of Texas. Well, when that happens, people get cold. They get frustrated. They get angry. I mean, how many people are built for the cold? None.
Not down here.
We don't have hair on us like animals that live in the
Nor
Arctic.
do we have big sweaters.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of equipment.
We don't have that gear.
You know?
We just don't invest in it. We don't need to. It's a waste of money if we do.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we won't ever use it.
You know, one day a year we might have frost down here. So for South Texas and Corpus Christi area, we struggle big when it's cold. And whenever the rolling blackouts occurred on like Monday morning and ended up just being shut off, we ended up deciding, hey, we'll try to make it through the day. It was getting cold, and my wife and daughter, I sent them. We took them over to my in-laws, and we stayed over there during the day. Ended up, my wife and daughter stayed there for a couple days, and I stayed at our house without power with my bigger dogs and my ducks, just so that I could take care of them and make sure everyone was taken care of and fed and watered and everything else, to avoid losing, you know, family. That's extended family to us, and we just couldn't take them with us, you know. But with that, I ended up getting called in to help out the fire department as a fire cadet and as a non-essential essential employee, you know.
No, you're essential,
quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know.
More importantly, in those times of need.
Yeah, and that's what, as a city employee and in the fire department and also in the police department, you are considered an essential employee. So if there is a natural disaster or a state of emergency or any natural, you know, anything emergent that occurs, you can be called in like that, you know, like the snap.
So that's what happened?
Pretty much. So we lost power Monday morning, and we were all told, hey, no school, no work, no nothing, stay home, take care of your family, whatever. Well, on Tuesday morning, 5 of us from my class of 24 were told to report to the warehouse, the logistics office, and to help out. So if you know anything about the logistics department in any type of city or warehouse or anything like that, you know that you are doing work that is not going to get, you know, a lot of praise. You're doing stuff behind the scenes so that what happens on the big screen can be praised. And that's kind of like the position that we ended up walking into on Tuesday, is like, hey, we need to get this laundered. We need to have this moved over there. We got to get some waters delivered over to these fire stations. And we're running around doing all of the behind the scenes stuff. So
important stuff, just
yes.
Stuff that doesn't get publicized or people don't know about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If the logistics department and the logistics staff didn't do their jobs, we would.
Nobody else can do it.
Yeah, nobody else can do anything. They were literally the foundation of the department, and it was nice as a cadet to see that now early on in my career.
Yeah.
Before I get out in the field, and to realize what a big deal logistics is to like the city and to the department, because the things that they dealt with were phenomenal, and how we all worked together and handled everything and got it done quickly and efficiently and time effective and time efficient was just
and in below freezing temperature.
Yeah, and it was freezing our nuts off. You know, to say the least. It was cold. Yeah. You know, and we were out there delivering water. We were filling up water tanks with fire hydrants. We were doing all kinds of things like that you don't see on the news, which is fine because we're not in it for that. But it was those types of things that have to get done so that the department can move forward, and so the city ultimately can move forward. Yeah. And it was enriching, you know, to do that and experience that. And it was frustrating, but it was enriching.
It's a good experience, as we talked about earlier, just being exposed to that. As a cadet, how many cadets can say that? That they know where the warehouse is at, they know how the logistics works, and they can go and work there if they chose to.
Yeah. And you know, we learned details, you know, behind the scenes details that you would just never...
And you, in those moments, were just like a sponge. I bet.
Oh, yeah.
So
let me ask more questions. Yeah. Let me ask, so how does that work? Yeah. You know, and those types of things just help me learn more and help me...
speed up the learning curve.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm no longer just a cadet. I've got a little jump on the... I've got a little edge to me now, you know. I've got a little behind the scenes like, hey, this is how stuff rolls. Yeah. You know, this is how it goes. And this is what it's supposed to be like. And now I also got to see behind the scenes of the fire stations. And I got to see a lot of the fire stations and where they're located and things like that. I mean, I'm ahead of the curve now, you know, for sure. Big time. And that was a good time. I'll miss it a little bit because it kept us busy. Yeah.
Just boom, 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 boom.
You're just doing this. Okay, now we got to go do this. We got to get some waters delivered out to the fire station.
Imagine doing that in 100-degree weather.
Oh, man.
That's what we're used to down here.
Yeah.
We can do that. That's no problem, but it still stinks, right? You're still sweating. Still out in the hot sun. But this weather last week, man, no fun. And I'm a pansy in cold weather. That's not for me.
Okay, so funny story about cold weather with this guy. One time we were working a baseball game there on campus at Carroll, and Joey had about 3 jackets, 2 pairs of pants, 4 socks on. I mean, this guy was covered. He had on gloves that weren't even his. They weren't even baseball gloves. They were just straight up cold weather gloves. You know, he cannot handle the cold.
I don't like it. I'd like to be in flip-flops in 90-degree weather every day if I could.
And you know, I saw when you went to New York.
Yeah. The weather that we had last week had nothing on New York.
Yeah.
New York was 50 with sunny skies and no wind. Yeah. That's what kills us here is the wind chill, dude.
Yeah.
It's
the wind and the humidity are probably our worst enemies here.
Yeah.
You know, because
it's crazy.
Chicago's the windy city, and you know, before I came down to Corpus, I had Googled Corpus Christi. I was like, let me see what Corpus is about. Yeah. And it's called the Windy City by the Bay.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's what they called it. The Windy City by the Bay. And I was like, dang, I mean, it can't be that bad, right? We get down here, and I mean, you get 30-mile-an-hour winds during the summer.
Like nothing.
Just a regular old 30-mile-an-hour wind, you know, every day, whatever the case may be. And then whenever it's cold, it's cold. Yeah. And that's what we experienced this last week.
Yeah, that was no fun, man.
And the whole time, the city ended up telling everybody to do a water boil.
Yeah.
And that was because they thought there was a water main break.
Yeah.
So then they...
Pipes bursting everywhere.
They thought the pipes burst down underneath
Well, I'm saying
the
like a lot of homes.
Oh, yeah, a lot of homes did burst pipes. And they thought that a water main burst under the Oso Bay is what they thought. So the Coast Guard volunteered to fly a helicopter and a plane over and try to locate bubbling water or whatever, to find the water main break. And they didn't find anything. So they reported nothing, and the city continued looking, and then they started pressure testing sections starting from northwest Corpus Christi, working their way down through, and nothing was leaking that
just
they could
cold
find.
Pipes.
They found out that by the end of everything that maybe it was just people's pipes froze, and or people were running so much water to prevent their pipes from freezing that it drained the water supply in the city tanks.
I didn't think of that, but yeah.
That to the point that we didn't have water pressure. Because everybody in the whole city was running water. So that it didn't have... There was no pressure because everyone was running water at the same time.
Yeah.
So
didn't think of that.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah. Drains the entire time.
Yeah. It's a catch-22. Like, you're trying to prevent your pipes from freezing.
So you run the water.
You run the water. Cool. I mean, this is all new to us because we don't do this.
We're trying to figure this out on the fly. Okay, run the pipes so they don't freeze.
Yeah.
But if you run them too much, then there's not enough pressure to drain.
Yeah. So we ended up, as a city, and I think much of the state probably, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but much of the state probably ended up in that same predicament where we as a whole community ran our water to the point where either our pipes were frozen and we couldn't get pressure, or we were all running water at the same time, so we lost pressure.
Oh, man.
Because we have no experience with this.
Yeah.
We don't know how to insulate our pipes. No. And much of our houses, I was looking at a lot of the houses in my neighborhood, like all of our pipes that come into our house, the supply line, like the water that comes from the city that comes into your house is external. So you have to legitimately insulate it, or else you're going to lose your water line that comes into your house. So that alone is just like our construction, our infrastructure, our streets, our water, electricity, everything was not made for cold weather like that.
And it showed.
Yeah. Let's just make a big mistake. All national news
it wasn't
with
good.
This winter weather.
But it's over. Today, the sun was out. It's probably 60, 65 degrees.
Yeah.
That's the coldest I ever wanted to get. Like, I'll take that, but God, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Wasn't fun.
No, it was not fun. But, I mean, the highlights I think I saw were the city stepping up. They provided warming shelters for the homeless.
They opened up some schools. They opened up the American Bank Center. Yeah.
We had the FEMA Dome at Del Mar, the FEMA Dome at Calallen.
Yeah.
We had multiple places that people could go to warm up.
It's always nice to see.
Yeah. And
people giving out food,
drive-bys. The city ended up giving out 2 cases of water per vehicle at 5 locations at yesterday, actually. And that was also rewarding for me because I'd been working in the logistics side of it, and we were loading up all these pallets, and then to see those pallets actually get sent out to the community, and then I ended up getting sent out to hand out water cases.
Wow.
I was at Bill Witt Park for a little bit handing out water cases, and then I got a phone call, hey, they need more cadets over at Natatorium. And I said, hey, that's right up by our alley. We've been there. I've done that. I've been over at the Natatorium. That's CCISD land, you know. So we jet over there, and we
down the street from the house still?
Yeah, right around the corner. So we end up jetting over there down Saratoga, and we end up handing out more water cases over there, helping out, getting human lines out to pass the water off the trucks and get them stationed to hand out. And it was cool. Even the mayor was out.
What was it?
Well, it's Mayor Paulette. Mayor Paulette Guajardo. Yeah. She was actually at the Natatorium there when I was there, and she even loaded some water into some vehicles and things like that.
Good for her.
Yeah. A little photo opportunity and things like that as well. But it was nice to see that our leadership and our community was present and aware of the situation and was working to help. Even the fire chief, I saw him multiple times. I saw the police chief multiple times, and it was nice to see everybody kind of come together in this rough time. You know, we talked about HEB, even Corpus Christi kind of came together and took care of everyone.
It was the weirdest thing. The city just shut down.
Yeah.
Highways, bridges, streets.
There was no transportation.
You couldn't go anywhere. For 2 days, for 48 hours, people were locked up. Couldn't go get food, couldn't go get water, just because there was a bunch of accidents on the main highways and the bridges were frozen. And it was crazy times. I had never seen anything like that. Just the city shut down.
Yeah,
schools canceled for a whole week.
When we were out delivering water to fire stations, we couldn't take SPID because it was closed, and that just added so much time. Like you don't realize how important that highway is to the community until it's closed.
And then especially like the people that live in GP, that live in the Bluff, that live on the island, like they couldn't come into the city to get any essentials if they needed to.
No,
they couldn't go over the bridge.
And I have multiple fire cadets that are out on the island, and they told me, hey, we don't have power, we don't have water, and there's nothing I could do for them because I couldn't get out there, and there's nothing that they could do other than talk to their neighbors, and see what they could get on the island. But that kind of reveals some things that maybe as a city and as a community that we should work on improving. And it kind of reveals that, like, hey, our water supply, maybe we need to work on that. Maybe we need to work on our electricity. Yeah. Working on making more power. Maybe we could sell some power to some other states or something, to the larger
You got
grids.
solar, don't you?
I do have solar. And that's the other thing. So people were asking about, on a tangent here, people were asking about, hey, well, if you got solar, don't you have power? No, you don't, unless you have the battery pack, solar storage. So, yeah, we ran out of power. We didn't have power, but solar on your house essentially reduces the load that your house pulls from the grid.
Okay.
So that is kind of like one of those things.
You still have a bill, it's just going to be cheaper.
It's going to be so much cheaper. Like a couple months ago, I had a $2 bill for electric because I have solar. I used mostly solar, and whatever I draw from the grid is so much smaller. So that's something that I think that Texas and the United States overall is probably going to have to go towards, is pushing for more solar or green type energy, because this kind of just demonstrates
the need for it.
Yeah. If we weren't draining the grid so much prior to the ice storm, then maybe we would have come out a little on the better end. But
yeah, I was thinking about you because I was like, yeah, solar. And I don't know how that works. Yeah. You had explained it to me one time, but yeah, I was curious about that.
Well, so, that's the other thing with that is like the power bank or the storage system for solar. It's a little expensive. Yeah. Something maybe one day we could install and add to it. But, I could hear all the generators running in the neighborhood. And I'm just thinking, man.
The people that have it.
Yeah, the people who have generators. Yeah. And they don't have solar, but they have a generator. So it's a gas generator. Yeah. They're just filling it up with gas and running it. And I'm like, man, maybe that's what I should have gotten instead of solar, because then I'd have power right now. But maybe like for our community, as a coastal community that we experience hurricanes and things like that, maybe a gas generator would be something beneficial to have down the line, essentially.
Yeah, I've been wanting to invest in one.
Yeah. And I was kind of looking them up a little bit and heard about like a propane generator. Because if you have propane that runs to your house, or if you have propane tank, like a gas grill, you could use that to run a generator as well.
Really?
Some generators. You have to look into them. But
is it dual? Like it's
some
gas
of them are
and
dual.
propane?
Yeah.
Damn,
some of them are dual. So they'll run gas and propane, and then they can run your house or run most of your appliances or your light bulbs or whatever you're wanting to hook it up to.
Wow.
And that's what I started looking into while I was sitting at home in the cold. Let me look, how can I have power next time? It's a learning experience, though. You know, you're learning from what you're going through, and that's what I started learning about. I was kind of looking into generators.
Generators, yeah, we need to get them.
Yeah, that's where my money's going to be at now. But yeah, I mean, the last week has been challenging. It's been different. And I'm hoping that we as a community and as a state and local area kind of learn from what we went through and move forward. I mean...
And we will. I think we're on the right track. But yeah, I know this freeze just killed everything, dude. Yeah. Everything. It killed school. It killed athletic events. It just canceled everything is a better word. But what it did kill is a lot of plants and grass.
You're right.
How's yours looking, Don's-Lawn?
Oh, man. Huh? Yeah, it's pretty brown right now. So I opted to take a risky level, I guess, and I didn't cover any of my plants that are in the ground. I wanted to see kind of just what would happen because they're pretty established. They've been in the ground for a couple years, so I wanted to see just what would happen with this storm. And I didn't really know how bad the storm was really going to be. And
who did?
Yeah, you know, so I just wanted to kind of take a chance with the plants that are planted. The ones in the pots I moved into the garage. They're looking okay. They're a little thirsty, you know, so we'll give them some water, give them some sunlight. But the ones that are in the ground are looking pretty rough. So in my front yard, I'm opening up this non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, tell me what you think about it.
We'll give it a taste. The ones in my front yard are looking pretty brown right now, but I think that because they're a tropical plant, if I can cut them back and they'll respond to the warm weather that we'll end up having in the next couple weeks. And the palms should be okay. There's a couple palm trees that I might have to, cut back and things like that. But overall, I think my plants came out okay.
Yeah?
Now,
what about your vegetables?
My vegetables, they're gone. They're all, it's ruined. But I didn't have too much of those going on there. So my grass, though, it's all brown. It was looking green about a week ago.
Yeah, man.
And it's done now. It's dormant. And that's what, with our grasses that we grow down here, you know, St. Augustine, Bermuda, those are your main two that will grow. They go dormant. They won't really necessarily die from the cold. So a couple things in the next couple weeks, if people are listening and they're interested in taking care of their lawn, you know, give them some water. They need some water still, just to try to keep those roots hydrated. And if we can give them about an inch of water in the next week or two, each week, and see how that kind of responds. And I bet you will start to see some grass green up in there. If you want to go ahead and mow it down a little bit and shorten your grass a little bit that's kind of brown and dead, and it'll also help promote some new growth. And then you'll start to get that green up. And from there, probably like mid-March, we'll be looking to fertilize. And
how do you think Hook's field is right now?
Oh, man, I bet it's looking probably pretty good if I had to guess.
Because I think they're going to have a season.
Yeah, I think so too. I bet their grass
you know where I'm thinking.
Yeah, I know. I need to talk to them.
Anybody out there that has a connection with the Hooks, Corpus Christi Hooks, get my man on their field so he can record some stuff.
Yeah.
Don's Lawns. Find him on YouTube, whatever. He'll take care of your lawn. The first thing he said when I saw him outside, "Hey, your grass is looking better than mine." Yeah. Like I bet he just drives around the neighborhoods and like looks at everybody's yard. Yeah. But anybody out there that has a connection with the Hooks, get them out there with their ground screw, and he'll make a YouTube video and make it awesome for the community.
Heck yeah. I like to share those types of things, like tips and tricks and little secrets and little things, you know, that people can do to kind of make their grass look a little bit better than the neighbors, you know? Like, how do we keep up with the Joneses and maybe pass them up a little bit? And, you know, that's something that I hope to continue.
Just sharing knowledge, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Sharing knowledge.
Definitely. But that's something that along the way there, the hooks, I better...
I think they're going to have a season.
I think so too, and I'm going to have to get on their field. You know, I'm going to have to call some high schools and see what kind of games I can work or something maybe, and flex it a little bit and get in there and pull my cameras out.
Yeah. It's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Or even like on an off day.
Yeah.
Just
hey,
go in
man.
there, hey, you need some help? You need some
just knock
another
on
worker?
that door. Hang on and just knock on the door.
From a blower.
Yeah. Can I shovel some sand for you?
Yeah, the Hooks are Corpus Christi Hooks. They're our local AA affiliate for the Houston Astros. So.
Yeah, they renewed their contract with the Astros, and that's big time. You know, just to keep that connection with the big league, and then it helps the local community as well.
I enjoy going to those games, man.
Oh yeah, it's a small town environment, and the grass is just beautiful. Their field is always the best grass in town, and I mean, I'm gonna miss working those baseball games at the Hooks field.
Up close and personal.
I get to go touch the grass and feel it and see the grounds crew work and things like that. And I'll miss that since I'm not in directly contact with the athletic training. But man, it's gonna be an exciting season, I think, for them.
Yeah, dude. I know we don't talk sports much on here, but that's probably something we can dig into.
We could definitely get into that. And talking about those connections that we have with the community and into major leagues and stuff like that. I mean, South Texas is known for their baseball. Yeah. And I know a guy who's played a little bit of baseball down here.
Back in the day, man. But it's still a rich tradition around here, and a bunch of buddies of mine still compete in an adult league down the street. And I used to play a couple years ago, but I don't play anymore. Maybe I need to get back out there. But yeah, it's just, if you're from the area, I know, like in 2010, maybe 2012, Corpus Christi was deemed as the #1 baseball town in America for amateur baseball.
Yeah.
#1 place for amateur baseball in like 2012 or something like that. But that was unique.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it kind of all ties into our community and everything that we've done down here. I mean, HEB probably sponsors every field, every baseball, softball, football, soccer field. They do all of that, and then every school district pushes and promotes their sports and athletics and everything else in our community, and all of the athletic teams in our community also give back to the community because they're always the first ones out there that you see doing things for the community, doing blood drives, doing clothing drives, doing food drives, canned food drives, different types of things like that. And it really does show like how important education is in our community and how important our community is to the people who are vital to it. The fire department, police department, the city, the teachers, everyone, along those lines. I know
the fire department has a bunch of like men's league that they're in, right?
Yeah,
basketball.
I need to talk to them.
Softball league, or
because I'm about to drop 21 on my next game. If I can talk to them about that, I need to get in the gym and put some work in. Yeah. But yeah, we need to look into that some more. Do some more sports talk.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't talked sports in a while. I went to a baseball game probably about 2 weeks ago. There at my high school. They were playing my former high school scrimmage, so I had to go out there and check them out, and that was neat just to kind of see some familiar faces and just kind of get scratch that little itch, and it was good.
That's good.
But yeah, we got to talk more sports, dude.
Definitely, yeah. That's something I can see in the next couple episodes. We'll talk more sports and talk more about what's going on in Corpus and things like that. I think that was a good talk about, in today's episode, is things that are going on around town and stuff like that here. I mean,
seems like we're always in the news, huh?
Yeah.
For something.
Yeah.
Well, hurricane season, we're always... The eye of the hurricane always wants to come here, but lately we've just been in the news for other things. Good and bad, but I think this one just hit home for a lot of people. Yeah,
I know there was a lot of people across the nation that took wind of what happened here and around our area, and in South Texas in general, because ice on our lawns is uncommon. You know, ice on our roof and ice on our pipes and ice everywhere. I mean, freezing temperatures is just something different. You know, we've never experienced that.